Well, good evening. Couple days late. This is Alan Printup for This Truth. The elections are over. We had a number of elections across the country on Tuesday, and some results are just exactly on how so many people thought they were going to go. There was a number of city, county, and state level elections all across the country. Ballot measures, etc. The key ones that everybody was talking about all over the internet, the interwebs, whichever, was Zoran Mandami for the mayor of New York City. He won. We all thought he was going to win, even if all the votes for all the other candidates combined was still not enough to beat him. Then we had, got it here on the screen, we had the governor in Virginia, Miss Spanberger, won over Miss Earl Sears. And that one actually puzzled me. I thought Miss Earl Sears was going to win that one, but evidently that's not the case. She lost by just under 500,000 votes. The New Jersey governor, Mickey, won over Jack Ciattarelli. We all thought that was going to go that way. And of course, Zoran, we just spoke about, and Prop 50 in California, that passed with overwhelming support from the populace. And we're going to get into what that does now and what Prop 50 means for the state of California. Also, we had the Virginia AG, Attorney General, I think his name was John Jay. I pulled it up over here. Yes. Who is this guy's name? But yeah, this guy, Mr. Jones, Jay Jones. I don't know. I'm not a Virginian. I'm definitely not a news reporter. But the one that made the disparaging remarks about Republicans and their children and death, a lot of support for him in Virginia. So the way I view any election is we all get what we vote for. Whether you vote the left or the right, we all get what is elected. And that's just the beauty of this country. Zoran Mandami, given his background, his age, he won. Same thing in New York, AOC, given her background and her age, she won an election to the House. And that just show you it can happen anywhere, in any state, in any city. So if you are an ambitious person, you can do it. And this is proof. You don't have to have a law degree. You don't have to be rich to win an election. That is the beauty of our constitutional republic. You just got to have a message that resonates with the people, and they can get behind you, and you can win an election and take it from there and affect whatever change it is that you ran on, no matter if you're on the left side of the aisle or right side of the aisle or an independent. Doesn't matter, but that's the beauty of this constitutional republic. Anybody can run and win an election anywhere. Now, one thing that did puzzle me, New York City, the highest population of any city in the country, the voter turnout was about 12-ish%. And that struck me as odd, as where I live in my small coastal town of Southwest Florida, eligible voters are just a little over 15,000, a little over 14,000. It's because in my town, it's small town. If we include the seasonal residents, we've got around 20,000 residents within the city limits. Now, we've got outside of the city limits, of course, but they can't vote in the city elections. So we had 29% voter turnout for our city elections. And our elections in this city went exactly the way we thought that they were going to. So it was no surprise there. But a city this small had a larger voter turnout, and it wasn't even a high-profile, contentious election. Versus, some of these key, what is being referred to as key elections in these other states for these positions, and 12% voter turnout in New York City. Now, I did see a clip of a statement from Vivek Ramaswamy. I think I saw that yesterday. And he was saying that the Republicans got their asses handed to them in the key elections. And that's just the case. The Republicans normally do not do well outside of presidential elections. I don't know what it is about Republicans that they just can't seem to get out and vote in city, county, and midterm elections like they do for the president. And I've seen plenty of Republican personalities on the YouTube say they speak of their disappointment and their distaste for how the elections went. And I was like, well, where were all the voters? They didn't go out and vote. They didn't go out and vote. So if Republicans are upset about the performance of elections outside of the presidential election, they need to get off their ass and go vote. I vote in every election, not just the presidential one. I vote in city, county, doesn't matter, I'm voting. That is my civic duty as an American, as a Floridian. That is my job. I have to vote. It is a civic duty. And it doesn't take but a few minutes. And if you're late to work, it's excused. You need to leave early, it's excused. Because this is a constitutional thing, whether it's a state constitution or a federal or the national constitution. Doesn't matter. Republicans, you can get out there and vote more. Same thing with the Democrats. You can get out there and vote in these elections. So 12% turnout, that is appalling. So 1 million people made the decision for a city of 12 million. Come on. Come on. That is per performance on behalf of the voter. They should do a lot better than that. On all sides of the aisle, whether it's the Green Party, the independent parties, independent candidates, there's not an independent party. Doesn't matter what the party is. The libertarians, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Vote for who you want to win, or if there's no one that you care about, vote against the person that you want to lose. The lesser of the evils. And too often our politics are like that in our elections. We have to choose the lesser of two evils. I don't like it, but that's just how it is. So, that being said, now these other propositions and raising taxes for the school meal program, okay, cool, yeah, kids, food, I'm all for feeding kids. There's several charities that I gave to regularly when I was a younger man, feed the children type charity. So I'm all for kids getting food, and yeah, we'll get into SNAP in a minute. Retain excess Prop FF revenue. I don't even know what the hell that is, but Prop 50. Here's a map right here of oh, come on now. I did not want to play the news. Anyways, but this map right here on the right, where you got this little smudge of red down here in the bottom right, this is what it kind of currently looks like, but after Prop 50, wham. And it locks the state like that until the next census. And the reason Prop 50 came about is Governor Gavin Newsom was responding to Texas in their redistricting. Now, gerrymandering has been used notoriously for a very, very long time. I've got my own ideas that I'm coming up with. I haven't got anything solidified yet on how to solve gerrymandering and make it, just cut, dry, and even. But I haven't landed on a method just yet. I'm rolling it around in my head. One thing that makes sense to me would take, end up taking some changes to state constitutions, on how their elections are done and how their electors and seats are handled. So I'm trying to not make it a complicated idea or process. I'm trying to think of something simple, because usually simple solutions are a lot of times the best solution. So don't want to overcomplicate anything. The government does enough of that for us to take something simple and they overcomplicate the shit out of it. So that's what Prop 50 looks like. That's what California is going to be like until the next census in 2030. So that's that. I don't know if it's going to be challenged or anything, but yeah, that's what we're looking at in California. So if you're a Republican in California, you are not going to have, but I think it's only about 4 seats total for the state that you are going to be allotted for Republican leadership. I saw it somewhere. Yeah, here. 4. So I know there's Republicans that live up here in the north and northeast. There's Republicans that live all over the state, but yeah, I'm not a fan of gerrymandering. I never have been. They should do what's good for California, not in response to what another state did. But I know that's what Gavin Newsom did. He publicly came out and said it. It's a damn shame. It really is. That politicians are having this big pissing contest between one another. And I don't like it. Speaking of pissing contests, I don't know why I made me think of it. Thoughts and prayers with the Cheney family, no matter your feelings about the man. He was a vice president. We got to respect that. I know there's some people that absolutely do not like him. I was in a business, kind of a networking breakfast this morning with a lot of business owners and other industries in Southwest Florida. I do this about once every 6 weeks. And the gentleman sitting next to me didn't know why the flags were half-staffed, so I mentioned it. And they're like, oh, and of course, disparaging comments. Now, like I said, no matter your feelings for Dick Cheney, he was a vice president, give him the respect. Any one of our presidents or vice presidents, regardless of feelings when they pass, that's a human being that died, okay? Now, unless they're like Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody, let's have respect. The man has a family. There's people that love him. There's people that are mourning. So, basically the message is be a human. Be a good human. Have some respect, regardless of your feelings of who he was and his performance in the government and what he did. 84 years old. Oh, something else in the news. Nancy Pelosi is not going to seek re-election after 40 years in government. It's about damn time. This is why I'm in favor of term limits and always have been. If it's good for the president, we need to take it through the whole federal government, including appointees. They need a deadline. So I don't like it when our elected officials are camped out for 40, 50 years. No matter how good they are, they get to a point, all of us do, where the things just start to break down. We have lapse in mental things. You walk into a room, not know why you're there. We lose a day of the week. All kind of little things. You wake up with a new pain. Your knee don't work right for some reason. It was fine when you went to sleep. You woke up. Well, the damn thing won't move. Happens to me. I'm about to turn 47, and these little things happen to me. I'll be lost in my thoughts while driving and miss my turn. Somewhere where I know that I'm going, very familiar with the road, know where I'm going, but I'm just lost in thought. These little things happen. Body breaks down. Mental capacity starts to wane. And it happens differently at different times for different people. But I'm not saying that anyone 80, 85 years old doesn't need to be in government. No. But they don't need to be there for 40 years. The reason being, there is a lot of grift and fraud within our government, not just the federal government, but in state and local governments as well. And the longer you're in there, the more ingrained in that groove of fraud and grift these elected leaders become. Not all of them, but there's a lot. And we get them in, we get them out. It narrows that down. Quit taking advantage of the American taxpayer. And we've seen it with our freshman and sophomore House reps. They come in with a zero net worth, and after 2-3 years, they're worth $20 million. How did that happen? How did that happen? I've never seen anybody get a $175,000 job within 3 years. Their net worth jumps to $20 million from zero. There's no other job you can get that does that at $175,000 a year. So if you want to get rich quick, win an election to the House or the Senate and talk to the old heads and see how it's done. That's just a joke. I'm not promoting fraud at all. I'm not. So Nancy's not going to seek re-election. It's about damn time. I wish they would pass a term limit bill right now. Yes, if they did that, we are going to lose some good senators, some good House reps. We're going to lose some bad ones too. But think about it. You're 84 years old in Congress, been there for 40 years. How in touch are you with society today? Our youngest voters, Gen Alpha, y'all can't talk to one another. Gen Alpha speaks a completely different language. I have trouble understanding them. My kids are Gen Alpha. So I heard somebody say that our elected leaders, they govern from their own position and vision of reality of what, they're accustomed to. If you were peaking in the 70s and 80s, that's kind of where your mind frame is at and the way you see things and the way you want to do things. It's too out of touch with today's society. Gen X should be the oldest elected leaders, in my opinion. Person's born, 1965 and later. I'm Gen X. I'm at the tail end of Gen X. I was born in 79. But we're more in touch with the world, today's world, than somebody that's 30, 40 years our senior. Really are. Hell, there's slang that the children use that I don't even know what it is. I'm like, what in the hell are you talking about? And they get explained to me, I'm like, Dad, you dumb. I'm like, what are you you're 21, you're 23, you're 25. What are you calling me dumb for? Let me tell you what I was doing at your age. So that's kind of how the conversations go between me and my kids. I get to pick on them, they pick on me right back. I got a brother that's 3 years younger than me. He calls me Paw Paw because I got grown kids. So, moving over to SNAP, of course, that's tied right to the government shutdown. FAA, the air traffic controllers, TSA, WIC, there's a lot that's affected by this across the federal government. And I've mentioned it before, there's certain positions like the air traffic controllers and TSA, that should be tied to the airport and the airlines. They should be paying that directly rather than it coming out of the federal, budget. Federal government, yeah, the FAA, Homeland Security, whoever, yeah, they can provide the oversight and the direction and the guidelines, but it's up to the airport to make the payroll for these people. That's how we can do that. It'd be a shared responsibility. SNAP, 42 million people, 1 in 8 Americans on SNAP. Why? Why are 1 in 8 Americans on SNAP? When I was very young, I'm not knocking people on SNAP. When I was a very young man, young, just married, just had my second child. I wasn't set in my career yet. I was dual careering. I was working a lot. And, we had food stamps. I can't remember if it was 6 months or a year, but that was it. And I haven't been on them since. I think we took WIC with one of the kids. So, um, since I look at everything objectively, I ask questions. And these are questions that I ask myself, and I'm going to share some of those questions with you. If you've never been to a WIC office, they only have certain food items. You got dried beans, um, you got cheese. I think I saw string cheese and Baby Bells at the WIC office once. Shelf stable milk comes in the same carton as like beef stock and chicken stock, but it's shelf stable milk. It's not shelf stable once you open it, but it's shelf stable. Powdered eggs. I think there was peanut butter, baby formula, and I think a couple of different kinds of cereal, oatmeal, just staples. Uh, Food stamps. I'm all for what they said about food stamps and limiting the junk food, the sugar, and whatnot. And I'm fine with that. My parents owned a country store, and I remember people coming in food stamps, buying candy and gum. This is back when they had the paper food stamps. They take $1 food stamp, get a nickel candy. You got to give them 95 cents in physical coin as change. They do that 3, 4 times, 5 times. They got a few mints or a few pieces of gum, and they got a 6-pack of beer. Selling books is, 50 cents on the dollar, they'd sell it for cash. People are selling their cards now. That's happened. But I saw way too many people on food stamps that were overweight. And this was 30 years ago, 35 years ago. So they bought that business back in 90. So yeah, the whole time I was involved with my parents' business. 1994, sold it in 2020. So they owned it for 30 years, and this is 2025, so that's 35 years ago. So 30 years, 35 years, whatever. There was a lot. And the whites and the blacks both that were using food stamps were overweight. And they'd come into the store. Yeah, it's a country store. Complete junk. Now, occasionally, they'd buy some cold cuts and milk, eggs, or bacon. But predominantly, the sales were soda, chips, snacks, candy bars. Yeah, that was predominantly what was sold. The name Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Me, I can feed myself at the grocery store, including toiletry items such as toilet paper, paper towels, Ziploc bags, garbage bags, dishwashing detergent, laundry detergent, dryer sheets, body wash, shampoo, toothpaste, about $100 a week. I don't look at prices. I just buy whatever the hell I want. But I don't buy sugary drinks. I buy water, seltzer water, buy coffee pods. I buy half and half for the coffee. That's all I have. I don't have any soda in the house. I don't have any beer. No, I do drink beer, and that's when I go out for a happy hour with colleagues. I might have 1 or 2 beers, and that's it. But I don't keep beer in the house. Don't keep sodas in the house. There's no pitcher of sweet tea. Yes, I am from Memphis in Mississippi. Sweet tea, grew up with it. I grew up with Kool-Aid. I don't have any of that in the house. I don't buy sugary stuff. I don't buy sweets. I don't. I want a snack. I'm having like pork skins or beef jerky. I bought some Cheetos today to go with my sandwich at lunchtime every day. That's the worst thing I buy. Everything else is fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, fresh dairy, lunch meat, cheese, and like I said, the Cheetos. I just finished dinner. I made it from scratch. Fresh chicken, fresh vegetables. Everything I eat is fresh. I'm not on food stamps. I'm not cost conscious when I go to the store. Occasionally, yeah, we just came out of Halloween. I bought the little bags of Halloween candy. Who could? The little Butterfingers, the little peanut butter cups, the little Baby Ruths. You got to get them. And I regretted every piece I ate. I did. So as we get older, it's harder to lose weight. So I definitely didn't want to put too much on, but I did indulge, and I'm not having any sweets till Christmas. Might have a little dessert at Thanksgiving. But yeah, $100 a week covers about everything. So, and like I said, I'm not buying the cheapest thing on the shelf. I'm not looking at price tags. I don't care. I go, I buy what I want, I pay for it, I leave. And I've worked very hard over my life to be able to spend money like that. I do. That's unless I buy seafood or steaks. Now, I live in Punta Gorda, Florida. We're right by Fort Myers. Fort Myers is responsible for a very large chunk of this nation's shrimping industry. So, fresh seafood and fresh fish is not far away from me. So, these teams, they bring their boats in. They have all these other trucks, and they, boom, trucks hit roadside after they make port, and boom, they just start selling out of these refrigerated trucks. I mean, they're like pickup trucks. Might be a cooler, might be a refrigeration unit, something like that, a freezer. Getting hogfish, shrimp, lobsters. It's different. You never know what they're going to have. It's typically whatever they can harvest in whatever particular season it is for the species. So, fresh seafood's not hard, but I'm not in the grocery store buying steaks and crab legs every day. I'm not. So, what's the solution for SNAP? One, we got to figure out why 1 in 8 people are on it. Are the qualifications too lax? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what the parameters are set on. Is SNAP fully funding groceries per person for the month? Or is it providing 80% of that computated cost? 50%? Where is it at? I'm fine with 50%. It's supposed to assist, not take place of. So assistance is a shared responsibility. And also, I think, you can only get it for a certain length of time. I do. Maybe 2 years. I think that's long enough to get a job, maybe get a raise, or get a job and then maybe get another job, because you don't get raises like you used to. If you want to get a significant raise, you either get a promotion or you got to switch jobs. Similar role, because if the company's not promoting you into the role that you want, if you've got enough on your resume to qualify for that job, then you might be able to get it at another company outside of the one that you work for, and get a bump, get your promotion that way. But the sitting and staying for 40 years at one employer, no, the ones that are doing the hopping, they're going to grow financially faster than the one that's sitting there paying dues at one company. I know a gentleman back in Memphis, very talented guy, didn't make very much money, and he was super talented. And I told him one day, I said, do you know you could probably make 3 times your salary just going to a different company? He's like, well, I really like where I'm at. I like what I'm doing. So you'll be doing the same damn thing, but you'll be with another company, and you'll make at least twice as much, maybe even 3 times. Plus, you'll have all the health care and everything. He didn't get health care when he was working. He was working for some guy that had a shop behind his house. The man was super, super talented. I seen his work, and I was like, oh my God, you're fantastic. And I even went to length to find jobs that he was qualified for. He was like, wow, that's what they're paying? I said, yeah. When I showed him to him, he was amazed. But he would never do it. And when he passed, he was in debt. And there was no inheritance for his children. They had to sell the house because he still owed a mortgage on it, even though he had the house 30 years. Just really, really tough. But he was happy. He was. He was very happy with where he worked. He was, he loved his kids, his grandkids, and yeah, he was uber talented. And so, just to give you an example, yeah, you might not be getting the money you want from the job that you have now. Think outside the box. Look at other companies and see about switching companies that might make you more money that way. Now, circling back to the elections in New York City, I'm in real estate in Florida, and I know there's already been some clamoring and some phone calls of people looking to pick up a home in Florida. I've heard part-time and I've heard full-time residencies. I have a feeling that's going to increase with some of the policy positions that Mamdani has proposed, raising taxes, rent freezes, and a whole slew of other things. Some of these things might have to get state approval. I don't know. I'm not into New York politics. I don't know the order of operations on some of these programs. But yeah, I do have a feeling that there are going to be people leaving NYC. I don't know if they'll go to like Bucks County, Philadelphia, or if they'll go into Maryland, or if they might go to Charlotte, they might go to Tennessee. But they're Florida. We don't have an income tax. We don't. We don't have a state income tax. And yes, property prices are what's perceived by some people as expensive. It all depends. It all depends. I've worked with people in all strata of incomes. Even the wealthy people sometimes will say, "Well, that's too expensive." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And sometimes I'll have somebody in the lower income bracket say, "This is expensive." I'm like, "Not really. This is the going price." And I've had people come visit me on vacation down here, and we'd all go out to dinner or lunch or what have you, and they're like, "Wow, the prices on the menu is expensive." I'm like, "No, this is a regular everyday price." And coming from where they live, yeah, uh, it's night and day difference in pricing, coming from like rural Mississippi to the coast in South Florida. Yeah, there's a difference in pricing, but it's normal everyday pricing for us. Another thing, switching over to Florida, what has been announced in the news is that auto insurance policies are about to start coming down. Several companies have gotten approval to lower their rates, so that's gonna be a savings, $20 to $40 a month per vehicle, depending on the company and the driver, the policy, etc. So that's something cool to see. We've seen home insurance dropping, and now auto insurance is dropping. I know I've had to modify my auto insurance since 2022, and I didn't change the coverage. I just changed, the deductible amount to bring down my premium because I can handle the deductible. And it still was like, wow, my insurance in 3 years went up like 35-40%. And then partly had to do with, Hurricane Ian just destroyed so much vehicle wise too, that it was a lot of auto claims because, I do have hurricane coverage on my truck. So lots been happening. Snap, what's your thoughts? What are your opinions? Do you think it should be a 50% assistance? You think it should be a 75% assistance? Now, I know there are some individuals that need 100% assistance. Should we have medical attached to the SNAP benefit? Just like when you're getting disability, it's rigorous to get disability. Should we require something similar for SNAP? Should we require it for Section 8? Should we require it for any subsidized government program? To prove that you are unable to provide for yourself, which is why you need additional assistance, like bonus assistance, up to 100%. Because like I said, 1 in 8 Americans on SNAP, that's troubling. Is it something that we've got as a cost of living that's an issue? Or are we too lax in the regulations and the qualifiers for that program? Or are we over assisting? I'm curious about that because, like Zoran, he is proposing a $30 minimum wage in NYC. Okay, well, I don't know how well that'll work in NYC. It would, since that's one of the highest cost of living areas, it probably would be more appropriate than say in middle of nowhere Arkansas. It would kill a company in rural America. They wouldn't be able to do it. Fast food workers, you know, in NYC, I don't know how well that'll work. I don't know how well the fast food industry or the little convenience stores or bodegas, as they call them, so the lower paying industry jobs. I understand everybody needs a living wage, but not every job is intended as a permanent career. Gas station cashier, that's a transient job. The drive-through window at McDonald's, that's a transient job. That's not what you get and raise a family. You hold that window down for 40 years. That's not what that's meant for. There are jobs that are meant to be transient and jobs that are meant to be semi-permanent, permanent to permanent. And those low entry-level positions, mailroom clerk, those aren't meant to be permanent. There are jobs that are specifically for high school students, college students, in that area. Can you make a living waiting tables? Yeah, not much of one, but you can. If you're in the right restaurant, can you make a living working fast food? Yeah, depending on the position. So, a retail clerk, depending on the retailer. Walmart, lower wages. Dollar General, even lower wages. Dollar Tree, same thing. You're not going to be able to work at Dollar General at an entry-level position and be able to buy a home, have a new car, raise a family, have a retirement fund. That's not going to provide you with that. Those are transient jobs, the low-paying position jobs. They're transient. Something to get a little bit of skill so you can keep on moving to something bigger and better. I know a gentleman that is working the same job that he was working 3 decades ago when I first met the guy. I tried, as I grew, I tried to pull him out of it and kind of take him with me on the ride. Because we do that. As we grow, there's 1 or 2 people that you want to bring with you that have got what it takes to do what you are growing into. And I tried that with him. He could not survive. He couldn't. It just went beyond him. And I hate that. And the last time I saw him, it was back to that same old job from 30 years ago. Same company, same job, making peanuts. And he said he barely had enough money to live. And I was like, well, brother, I know you've had opportunities, because the job that I gave you 25 years ago was paying you more than what you're currently making today. But you quit that job. I was training him to replace me, but he couldn't do it. So things like that happen. They do. And everywhere that I've been in every industry, I try to bring people up. And some people, most of the time can meet the challenge. They really can. There's a couple people that I'm working with right now that I'm trying to help elevate within my industry. And one is very resistant, and one is very open-minded, and is putting some things into practice. I do some business consultation. I moonlight doing that with young entrepreneurs, try to help them grow their business, make their business more profitable. So there's a lot of things that I do for others on the professional landscape. And that's part of being human. Like what I said at the beginning of the video, let's be human. When I was speaking about Dick Cheney. Regardless of who won these elections, and going back to this one right here, let me pull it up. No, Here we go. That one there, Virginia governor. Spanberger and Miss Winsome Earl Sears. Miss Sears is black, Miss Spanberger is white. And I didn't think it was odd, but I did think it was odd at the same time. I was like, inclusivity has limits. You don't vote for the black woman because she's a Republican. That was my internal way of taking a dig at the Democrats and what they've been preaching about for many years about inclusivity and minorities and everything else. Well, you had a minority on the ballot. You did not vote for her. You voted for the white lady instead of the black woman. So just to prove you that every political party has some level of hypocrisy, and this would be proof of that right there. Because you remember when VP Harris was running for president, black woman, which when she was running in California, she was South Asian, Indian. She wasn't black. Now she's black when she hits the federal side. So, and that was talk around different camps and different circles of, not voting for the black woman. And they were trying to guilt people into voting for her because she's a minority, she's black and a woman, and no one, you should vote for her. Well, this is the same thing, just the shoes on the other foot. Black woman, you'd think Democrats would have lined up to vote for the black woman. No, can't do that because she's a Republican. So, like I said, I just brought that up to prove that every party has hypocrisy. The Republicans got hypocrisy. The Democrats have hypocrisy. It exists because it's all about the political party's dogma and towing the line. Now, the line is a little bit more serious for the Democrats than it is the Republicans. I don't know why. I have no clue. But no matter what, the Democrat supporters will cling to those talking points, those buzzwords, and those positions more so than a Republican. A Republican will let go of them at some point, but the Democrats typically not. Shutdown, we're 8 days in. I know behind, within Congress, it was proposed to vote on a measure to fully fund SNAP, and then haggle out the rest of it. But the Democrats would not separate that from it. They are either they're seriously want those damn subsidies. I think there's some grift in there. I think there's some hands in the cookie jar in that. Or it could be that they're trying to force the Republicans into ending the filibuster because they're fully confident that they're going to win the midterms and they're going to be able to do what they want. The filibuster, I have mixed feelings on that. Yeah, I like the filibuster and I don't like the filibuster. I've always had mixed feelings on it. But I'm also for a resolution. If I was in politics, I would vote for a resolution that if the appropriations process is not done and a budget passed by the end of business, then an automatic CR is triggered to keep the current funding in place for X amount of days to give the appropriations process time to get finished. Rather than going into these government shutdowns, that would be a way to prevent government shutdowns and keep essential services running, funded, lights on, etc. Nobody loses paychecks or jobs. Now that's something I could totally get behind. If I was a politician, I would my message would flip everything on its head. It really would. Everything from insurance to healthcare, that's all aspects of insurance. Health insurance, auto insurance, doesn't matter. Any insurance, life insurance, you name it. Healthcare, pharmaceutical, everything. Wildlife conservation, building codes. I've got a position on all of it. And if I ran for an office on a federal level, it would turn a lot of things up on their heads, and I know I would get much criticism for some of the things of my position. And they're very rational. They are not out in left field or out in right field. I'm an independent, always have been. I'm very objective, and I look for inefficiencies and how to solve those. That's the way my business mind works. And I don't like talking bad about people, so I wouldn't do that. But on just about every key talking point you hear from our government, I've got a position different than both parties. I do. And mine actually makes more sense. But I'm not an elected official and I'm not running for office. But maybe we'll get into it one day. But with Zoran Mandami, the new mayor-elect of New York City, that's easier to say. I think a lot of what he's promising is not going to be able to happen. I have this feeling that he's over-promising and under-delivering. When I listened to his acceptance, his victory speech, I kept getting a feeling that I was listening to an eighth grader running for student council president. That's what it kind of sounded like to me. I don't think much of any of what he's promised is going to be able to happen. I think there's going to be some state approvals that are needed that he's not going to get. He might get too much pressure from the city leaders on some of these issues that he's brought up. But yeah, it feels like overpromising and under. I feel like he's overpromising. I really do, because I don't think he's going to be able to deliver on. There's some things that'll be within his purview that he could do, but some of the big things I don't think he can. I don't think he'll be able to. And you know, I'm not knocking him for his vision or his ambition or anything like that. I don't foresee him happening. I don't. I think there's going to be some insurmountable obstacles in his way that he's not going to be able to move on his own. But in his victory speech, mentioned to Donald Trump a number of times, and also the Donald Trumps of New York City. So he's targeting the billionaires. He's targeting apartment building owners, investors, business owners. In his speech, yeah, he spoke well. He did. But it sounds like he's targeting. The top 1% pays in between 48 and 52% of all the taxes in the country. So how much more are they going to take? How much more city tax you're going to put on them before they go, you know what? Here's the finger. We're going to Nashville. We're going to Houston. We're going to Charlotte. We're going to Palm Beach or Miami. There's been talks in a couple other states of starting a stock exchange. I'm not going to say where, but there's been a couple of them. So the cities like LA and New York, you in today's age, you're no longer the epicenter. You're not. Love you and all, but you're just not the epicenter anymore. You no longer have to be in that physical location to succeed in the business that is headquartered in that city. We see Hollywood moving out of Hollywood, right? Financial is moving out of New York, and has been for a long time. Charlotte is a financial powerhouse of a city. Big city, and it's a financial mecca. Well, it's a mecca, not the mecca of finance, but it's a huge banking city. Same thing with Nashville. There's people from California moving to Nashville, people from the Midwest moving to Nashville. Memphis used to be the largest city. It's not. Nashville overtook it with its common sense policies and just natural allure. Atlanta is it's one of the largest cities, if not the largest city in the Southeast. Georgia is film friendly. Really is. And then you've got Florida, which is, Florida's Florida. We got the beaches. We do. We've got the beaches. We've got luxury. We've got agriculture. We've got an enormous cattle industry, vegetables, fruits, citrus industry. We got it. an enormous fishing industry, tourism. Florida's got a lot. It was recently, again, voted #1 place to retire. So, yeah, that's a lot of stuff for today. The government shutdown. I'm about too angry for that. I don't know if they should end the filibuster or not, but I know they need to get together and get the job done. They're playing chicken with each other. Eventually, somebody's going to have to blink. Somebody's going to have to blink. I don't know who. I don't know who is going to do it because, like in any negotiation, the first one to blink loses. I know that from real estate. I've been in some negotiations trying to get a deal done. Yeah, it's a big game of chicken now in Washington D.C. Who's going to blink? Thoughts and prayers with Dick Cheney's family, and I hope you made today great, and hope tomorrow's going to be even better for you. The truth for today is be a decent human being to those around you, regardless of if they believe in the same thing that you believe. It takes all of us to do this. We can't do it on our own. That's why we're all different. We're all unique pieces of the same puzzle to make one big, beautiful picture. So be kind to everybody. Treat everybody with respect. Until next time, I'm Alan Print Up. See you next time.